Let's move to the trend in this is very important topic, trends in medical device traceability and regulatory modernization. Let's invite Mr. Sebastian. He is the head of governmental solutions in Antares Vision Group. Mr. Sebastian, how are you? Please unmute yourself.
Thank you so much, Ahmad. Thank you so much, Justin. So I hope that everyone can see my screen now. So first and foremost, thank you again for the invite today to be able to speak on something that is not only pharma traceability, but concerning all of us as the track and trace community. And I think Marwan actually gave a fantastic intro to my topic today. So I'll just pick up from there. So let me just quickly introduce myself. So I'm Sebastian Neuwirth. I'm head of the government solutions team at Antares Vision, representing the government business of Antares Vision, where we support government authorities, regulators, and healthcare economies and economy systems in strengthening traceability frameworks, regulatory oversight, and transformation across the healthcare supply chain. So today, I want to speak about the trends in the medical device traceability and regulatory modernization space with a focus on the Gulf region. Many of us, come from the pharma track and trace world, and we understand serialization, we understand aggregation, national hubs, verification, anything when it comes to decommissioning, reporting, events, and supply chain compliance. And this is an extremely valuable experience. But my key message today is that medical device traceability is not pharmaceutical serialization applied to just another product category. It's a very different regulatory model, a very different data model, and a whole different way of looking at the life cycle challenges. And pharma traceability is often centered around serialized medicine pack, whereas medical device traceability is centered all around the device identity, the regulatory registration, product master data, clinical use, life cycle control, but also post-market surveillance and the regulators' ability to act quickly when something changes. So this difference is critical for the governments, the manufacturers, the importers, hospitals, but also, of course, all of the technology partners as well. So I will start with the difference between pharma versus medical device traceability. So in pharma traceability, the main object is usually the salable medicine pack. So the commonly used identifier includes a product code, so GTIN, or the national product code, serial number, batch number, lot number, and expiry date. And on an operational level, the question is usually, is that pack genuine? Has the serial number been commissioned? From where to where has it moved? Can it be verified? Can it be dispensed or decommissioned? And how can we manage exceptions such as returns or exports or recalls or any kind of suspected falsifications? So pharma traceability is often just around the pack authentication and the chain of custody model. But medical devices are very different. So in medical devices, the central concept is the unique device identification. And the UDI has two parts. It's the UDI-PI, which is a device identifier, and the UDI-PI, which is a product identifier. And the UDI-PI may include production information, lot number, serial number, manufacturing date, expiry date, or potentially even the software identification, depending on whatever is applicable and what appears on the label. This follows international standards such as bodies like GS1, etc. But the UDI does not always mean serialization of every individual medical device unit. So because some devices are lot controlled, some are serial controlled, some are implantable, some are reusable, some are kits or procedure packs or accessories, and some have multiple packaging levels, and some may require direct marking on the device itself. So when it comes to the medical device, the question is much broader. So what exact device is it? Which model, version, or potentially even configuration? Which is the package level? Which production identifiers do we apply? Is this medical device authorized for a specific market? What kind of certificate or registrations linked to it? Is it sterile? Is it a single-use device, implantable, etc., etc.? And also, how quickly can a regulator, a hospital, or manufacturer act if there is any sort of safety signal? So that is why medical device traceability is not only a supply chain topic, it's really a regulatory data infrastructure topic. So when it comes to end-to-end pharma versus end-to-end in medical devices. So one difference is very clear. In pharmaceuticals, end-to-end means, we're looking at the journey of a serialized pack from the manufacturer via the distributor or wholesaler to the pharmacy, hospital, or to the dispensing point. So we commission the serial number, we encode the pack, we put it into aggregation, we ship and receive it, we verify it, we dispense it or decommission it, any sort of end of life. And sometimes we manage exceptions. And this is the main object of a serialized pack. But in medical devices, end-to-end starts much earlier and ends later. It starts with the product registration, which includes classification, manufacturer and authorized representative data, certificate information, the assignment of the UDI, any sort of additional package hierarchy, product master data, label requirements, and so forth. And after that, it continues through the import controls, the hospital inventory, clinical use, implantations, etc. Even for medical devices in the sense of software, it includes updates and further field safety, corrective actions, adverse event investigations, recalls, etc. Many, many, many additional things on top of what we are all used to. So in very simple terms, pharmaceutical end-to-end is mainly movement and verification of a serialized pack, whereas medical device is much more. Medical device really is a distinction between system architectures. So the pharma platform we know is strongly event-based. So whereas a medical device platform must be both event-based and master data-based. And for medical devices, master data is not only those administrative details, but it's really the foundation of traceability. So the barcode is important, but the barcode is really only the visible layer. And the real regulatory value comes from the trusted data behind the barcode. So what I want to just give a quick rundown on is Europe and the EUDAMED. And this is really something that we can look at because it's a very relevant reference point where the medical device regulation is moving to. So EUDAMED is not a UDI database. It's really the European medical device regulatory data infrastructure. And as of last week, 28th of May, which really is just like a couple of days ago, 4 of those EUDAMED modules became mandatory. So it's the registration of the actors, it's the UDI and the device registration, it's the notified bodies and the certifications, and also the market surveillance. And UDAMED is designed to provide a living picture of the life cycle of the medical device in the whole EU in order to improve the transparency and coordination between those different member states. Today, I wanted to put the focus on the Gulf region, why this is so important for us, because it's not about learning any kind of lesson or trying to copy the European complexity, but it's more understanding how this device oversight can become a connected regulatory backbone. So to understand who is the actor, what is the device, what's the UDI, which certifications apply, what's the market status, and what actually happens after those devices entered market. So with all of us having a pharmaceutical background, this is a major difference, right? Because for us, you know, the pharma authorization starts with the pack and the serial number, but for the medical devices, it starts with the regulatory grouping, the certificates, technical documentation, product variants, software versions, and any kind of post-market obligations. So medical device traceability is really not just a labeling project. It's really data governance and regulatory modernization. So let's move to the Gulf region. So I think the Gulf has a very strong opportunity because we have already implemented a lot of the most important building blocks here. So I just picked, you know, a few examples here. So let's talk about Saudi. On the medical device side, SFDA's UDI requirements apply to the medical devices, medical supplies, and accessories intended for the Saudi market. And they accept UDIs and identifiers from GS1, HIPCC, SACBA, and they use this as a standard tool for standardizing the identification, the traceability, and the identification of fraudulent devices. But it's also important that KSA isn't treating the UDI only as a labeling requirement, but also as some part of the regulatory modernization. UAE is another very important regional lesson from the pharmaceutical side, right? So we just spoke about TABMIN as the nationwide traceability platform aligned with the GS1 standards, with all of the good things that come with it, you know, counterfeit detection, proper recall management, etc. So it really proves that here in the Gulf, you know, we can implement these kind of national traceability infrastructures. And we can also onboard the stakeholders. We have a very mature infrastructure. I picked Bahrain as an example because they are now moving quite ahead on terms of medical device traceability, because they've just launched a platform to not only modernize the medical device regulation and registration, but also introduce a UDI-based traceability platform. And it's Antares Vision supporting this operating model, both from the technology as well as from the operational point of view. But our role is really to help the regulatory framework, you know, through this digital registration, the traceability workflows, the collection of all these structured data, and also making sure that all of the stakeholders are being involved in this, because we're not only talking about the manufacturers, we're talking about all of the other supply chain stakeholders in general. So let's go one level deeper. And I'll just take this Bahrain example that illustrates why the medical device traceability really requires the expertise that we are all bringing to the picture here. So we're looking at UDI data that is linked to the public health objectives, which is enhanced traceability, the identification of the counterfeits or the fraudulent devices, but also looking at all of the post-market surveillance things like safety alerts and corrective actions, any sort of incidents or adverse reactions. And the regulators, they don't do this just for the sake of collecting data. It's for them, it's a way to just be much faster when it comes to patient safety, product quality, and the market integrity. So such a database, the UDI database in general, it's not only a database, but it's really a governance process, right? So we have accountability for the owners of the data. We have a certain timing before the market placement. We have a proper structure around the change management. We have constant validation through inspections, post-market surveillance, etc. And of course, this always gives the authority a mechanism to request confirmations on devices in place. And I truly believe that this is the right principle for the region. We are certainly way ahead of the curve when it comes to other regions of the planet, but I also think that this is where we can make the most impact when it comes to patient safety. So why is it actually that the medical device traceability is technically so much harder than pharmaceutical traceability? So pharmaceutical packs are usually just standard saleable units, but the medical devices, they include all sorts of things, low risk consumables, implantables, diagnostic equipment, software, reusable surgical instruments or accessories, procedure packs, kits, and configurable systems. So it's a whole different ecosystem. So for example, take package hierarchy as an example. Each applicable package may require its own device identifier. So you can have surgical packs for containing medical devices A, B, and C for procedure 1, but then you have similar devices in a different procedure pack. So the other thing is that when it comes to changes in the life cycle, so the UDIDI is required whenever there's any change that affects the device identification, the traceability, the packaging, or any key attributes, let it be the brand name, the version, or the single-use status, or any sort of MRI safety informations or sterile status and critical warnings. So this is why medical device traceability is much more complicated from the start than just requiring barcode deployment. It does require the classification of the products, the packaging logic, and anything that comes with it. So really, the question comes to the question is not like, can we print a barcode, but the better question is like, can we create a trusted device identity that really remains usable across the full regulatory and supply chain as well as clinical life cycle. So reliance and simplified device registration. And I think this is something that is extremely relevant in the Gulf as a region, because we are very harmonized in many ways already. So what does reliance mean? Reliance means that a regulator can take into account assessment and decisions and certificates and registrations of other trusted regulators. When it comes to allowing a medical device to be entered into the market. So this can be from the SFDA, this can be from the FDA in the US, it can be from the European regulators. And it's just a question of how can we allow those devices to enter into the market quicker, but still controlled way. So it's not about lowering the standards. It's also not about any sort of automatic approval. And it's also not about giving away this national sovereignty. It's just about trying to rely on the trusted regulatory networks and standards that we have in nations that we trust. So this is, by the way, also something that WHO very much supports when it comes to reliance on certification standards and everything. And for the medical devices, this is extremely important because we are looking at how can we harmonize not only the registration, but also the traceability. But all of that always means that we still need to ensure that those international standards that we're trying to follow still meet the local needs. So we still need to make sure that the product is submitted locally and is approved somewhere. And the intended use is the same, right? And the manufacturer is the same. Certificates are valid. And that also means that if a certificate expires in a reliance country, take Saudi for an example, if the license expires in Saudi, we need to put measures in place that if that license has expired on which we have based our sovereign registration, we need to reflect that. We also need to make sure that the risk classes stay the same and the packaging labels are the same. So, so this is, where does reliance and UDI then can work together, right? So how is this that a device can be accepted more efficiently? And UDI and traceability can answer that question. So what exact device entered the market? Where is it? And how can we act, if something goes wrong? And the combination is extremely powerful. And this is directly where, the Gulf is our region where we are looking for this reliance pathway, where we are looking at risk-based, transparent, and a compatible global regulatory practice. So reliance also connects directly to a concept of the integrated trade economy, right? So if we are moving the goods from country A to country B, we are considering that we are accepting the rules and regulations of those counterpart countries. But we are here to look at data. So how are we solving the problem of duplicated data or consistent data more as such? So for medical devices, we really want to make sure that we have controlled movement only based on trusted data. So with the reliance part in place, we can simplify those pre-market registrations. We can also verify that the customs authorities have valid registrations and identifiers. The hospitals can easily identify the exact same device through those UDI identifiers. And a regulator can also market through traceability and post-market surveillance. And last but not least, a recall can be executed much, much quicker. So for us, we think that reliance across the region is a big strategic opportunity. So it simplifies access to those markets. The UDI itself creates the trusted identity. And the traceability creates the visibility inside the market. Plus all of the market surveillance and inspections that go with the over the life cycle of the device. So in other words, the harmonization, it doesn't stop only at the registration. Really, it should connect registration, reliance, a unified UDI database, import controls, the procurement, it goes all the way into the hospital inventory and the post-market surveillance. And this is how the medical device traceability can become a very integrated part of the economy between those countries. So I want to just close with 3 takeaways. So first and foremost, medical device traceability is not a copy of what we have seen in pharmaceutical serialization. So we know pharma is centered on the serialized medicine pack. Medical devices, they do require identity, master data, and a lot of it more than just on the pharmaceutical packs. They require the life cycle control. They require post-market surveillance and additional information on the clinical use. Secondly, reliance and traceability should be designed together. So reliance as a concept to introduce products that are registered in one market, to help them introduce them into another market, can't just simplify the device registration by just using a trusted certificate and approval of other regulators. UDI helps us with that. It helps us identify the device. It helps us ensure that the source of the data can be trusted, but we still need to make sure that the device enters the local market and the regulator knows exactly what it is and eventually where it is. Third, I think in the Gulf, we have this unique opportunity. And I don't want to exclude anyone on this panel today from the region here, but I think we are in a very opportune situation where we have, Saudi's UDI direction. We have the experience in traceability in several of these markets, including Saudi, the UAE, Bahrain. And we are now setting a precedent of how we can ensure that medical devices, whether or not tracked on the lot level initially or later on the individual level, can enter the markets and also cross the different markets in the region by having a unified registration interface. And it's not about creating more complexity around all of this. It really should be that we have this one trusted device identity, which is the UDI with the different components, which will help the regulators here in the region to act faster and help the industry to just comply more efficiently, help the hospitals respond more accurately, and at the end of the day, also help the patients to make sure. So I do think that just to summarize this, and then we can happily go into Q&A, and I hope I didn't break the 15 minutes, but I'm really looking for harmonized, interoperable, and some sort of risk-based, reliance-focused public health impact that we're doing here. And I know this was the first one on medical device today, so I had to give a little more background here. Sorry for that, but more than happy to take your questions. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Justin, yes.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, thank you, Sebastian. I mean, there's a lot to answer there. I mean, we're a little bit behind schedule, if I'm honest, as well, but there's so many questions. So a topic to cover again, but very, very, right? And you can't some of the requisites that would need to be put in place, and that it wasn't just about regulators and manufacturers, all the stakeholders and supply chain. And you kind of gave some overview of what they should be looking at. What would be the things then, considering that medical devices are varied and not the same as medicines, that those pharmaceutical manufacturers, regulators, and other people in the supply chain should avoid in terms of using the traditional pharmaceutical methodologies?
I think it's not about not using what is already in place. I think in pharmaceuticals we have been in the place of where we serialize our products for the better part of the last 10 years, and for the medical devices we are a little behind on that part, but we are just getting started. So medical devices are already equipped with those UDIs, but it's the serialization, so the unique identification of medical devices is still something where we are striving towards. And I think as an industry, we need to be realistic that this is nothing that can happen overnight. Just as in pharma, we started implementing, and look at where we are today. 10 years after we've all started, we are where we always wanted to be, right? And I think for medical devices, this will pick up much quicker. But at the same time, I just want to make sure that everyone understands for the medical devices, this is for many of the medical devices, it's not a one-time consumption thing. Think about the medical devices that are in hospitals, that are multi-use, etc. So there's much more to the life cycle traceability.
Mr. Sebastian, I think as I mentioned earlier, we are in the momentum of the track and trace in medicine, and now we start to be in the momentum of the medical device also. Mr. Marwan spoke about Tatmin in medical devices. Now we have also in Bahrain and Antares medical devices. We have also IMVO announced soon the traceability of the medical devices. So we are also in the momentum now of the medical devices. I'd like to use that you are here, so I need to ask you about the pharmaceutical traceability in Bahrain. I cannot pass this opportunity to ask you what is the status of Nehra pharmaceutical traceability in Bahrain.
Okay, so absolutely. So the medical device traceability in Bahrain, going under the label of Tataba, is in place. It will become effective from the 1st of July. For the industry, the onboarding is happening right now. Nahra is very much aware that the mandate is quite aggressive in terms of timelines. So I think for the industry, it's important to understand that as long as you can provide direction to the regulator in terms of willingness of getting ready, there will be certain exemptions that will be granted. But it's important that at least you complete your mandatory registrations and signal to the regulator that you're on the path of enabling this.
Okay, so 1st of July to Tatabba for medical devices, correct?
Correct.
What about pharma?
Well, the pharmaceutical traceability, I guess, as the industry has already realized, is shifting to Antares Vision as well. For that, Antares Vision is directly working with the big, let me say, the big vendors in the space, the big level 4 vendors, to make sure that we do a B2B integration and transition. That being said, manufacturers and also smaller level 4 vendors are more than happy to contact us to make sure that we have this as a seamless transition.
Great. So we start also, the pharma will shift it to Antares level 5, maybe in next couple of months.
So effective from someday in August, that's when the shift will happen, the transition will happen, will become effective.
Very good. It's very informative. Thanks, of course, for your invaluable insights regarding the medical device. This is another side of traceability, and it is very important to throw some lights on it. And of course, as I mentioned, it is an opportunity to ask you about the track and trace in pharma, also in Bahrain. And it was a pleasure to have you today give us an idea about the traceability of medical devices. Thank you very much, Mr. Sebastian.
Thank you so much, colleagues.
Thank you. Okay, Justin, it was a very valuable session to have an idea about the track and trace in medical devices. I think we can now Mr. Marwan for his very insightful session.